Today 6, On Your Side at 10, with 10 minutes of nonstop news. And the On Your Side forecast starts now.
Good evening. Thanks for choosing to spend your Sunday night with us. I'm Paul Gerke. We just wrapped up our Muscular Dystrophy Association Labor Day weekend telethon, a tradition since 1966. Today, On Your Side talked with a brave local boy who is the Goodwill Ambassador for MDA in our state. Tammy Scardino joins us in studio with the story.
There are several different types of muscular diseases, and one local family anticipates a breakthrough in the very near future, one that could prolong 11-year-old Skyer's life.
Of course, as a parent, you feel very hopeless when you feel like you're fighting something that is always going to be there.
Skyer's Rupplinger has spinal muscular atrophy type 2, which means he's not able to support his weight. He's been wheelchair-bound his entire life. His mother implemented a strict workout regimen for him at an early age, something that has allowed him to do things people in his position have already lost the ability to do.
I like doing video games. I do almost everything in MDA except for walking.
Skyers was diagnosed with a debilitating disease when he was 3. His first and last hospitalization occurred when he was 4.
I started working him out, like more of a muscle building program instead of just the once-a-week physical therapy. Then I took him to the pool and he swims independently, and we've never had a hospitalization since.
Every day, Skyers works out on the treadmill for 45 minutes. Lydette figures that if she keeps her son's muscles healthy, he will live a longer life. A wish that is something any parent of a child with such a disease could hope for. That's why she encourages people to donate to the MDA program.
Medical advances are proving to extend the quality of life and lifespan. And so I feel that coupled in with what we're doing, he's going to get to be a grandpa someday.
Of course, the MDA telethon ended just before the show, but we will have a link on our website, IdahoOnYourSide.com, to make further donations. In studio, Tammy Scardino, Today 6 On Your Side.
If your Labor Day weekend plans take you up Highway 55, plan ahead for heavy traffic and delays, especially near the Banks-Loman Junction, where flaggers will help direct traffic. The Idaho Transportation Department is asking drivers to avoid peak travel times between 3 and 6 p.m. and to take alternate routes when possible. In just a moment, a look at how the earthquake in Napa, California is impacting local winemakers here in Idaho. But first, let's find out if the sun will stick around for the rest of the holiday weekend. Adam Bierman joins us.
The answer is yes, Paul. We're going to see lots of sunshine for Labor Day. It's going to be a beautiful day, and it's nice and clear outside tonight. Let's take a look at our current conditions out at the Boise Airport. 64 degrees. It's getting a little on the chilly side, and dew point down to 39, so it's dry as well. Winds out of the south-southwest at 3 miles per hour at this hour. 61 the temperature in Ontario right now. Mountain Home is at 69. Twin Falls down to 59 already. Stanley's already at 43. They'll likely dip below the freezing mark tonight. Taking a look across the region, skies are clear and dry. Looks like a beautiful day shaping up tomorrow. But what about the rest of the week? Find out what to expect up ahead in my On Your Side forecast.
Thanks, Adam. The mystery of the sailing rocks of Death Valley has been solved for the most part. BSU physicist Brian Jackson observed the rocks of Racetrack Playa for 2 years. For decades, scientists have tried to understand what caused the rocks to slide across the dry lake bed. Jackson found out ice flows that form in the winter drag the rocks around with the help of a little wind power. The research was funded in part by NASA.
The Racetrack Playa is a good analog for some of the features we see on Saturn's moon Titan. Titan also has a very interesting hydrological cycle, except there, instead of water, there's liquid methane that rains down.
Jackson says this doesn't necessarily explain how the much larger rocks move. He plans to go back to the Racetrack Playa for further research. It wasn't moving rocks, but moving earth that has crews in the Napa Valley of California assessing the damage of a 6.0 earthquake. But the destruction of best-selling wines has vineyards in the Treasure Valley assessing the potential profit. Jake Melder is live in studio with the story.
To come in and damage the Napa Valley, but surveillance video shows hundreds of wine bottles. It's a busy day at Koenig Winery and Distillery, located in the heart of the Snake River American Viticultural Area. That's a fancy way of saying wine country. As patrons sipped sweet reds and whiffed crisp whites, one can't help but think of the wine shortage Napa's earthquake created. A void perhaps Idaho wines will fill.
To be honest, I mean, if it might illuminate a lot of other people to the fact that there's some really good wines here in Idaho as well.
For longtime Koenig patrons Fred and Dottie Christensen, it's a no-brainer.
We think that Idaho wines is comparable to any wine in Northern California, where I'm from.
Making fine wine takes time. Vineyards have existed in the valley for 150 years, and for good reason. The region's high elevation and volcanic soil, combined with our long, hot summers and cool evenings, make for ideal conditions to grow wine grapes.
It really helps with our ice wines, and so when they're frozen, they're really ripe, and when they're frozen, obviously it concentrates all the sugar, and then we're pressing them, and so it's got a very high sugar content.
Whether it's Three Horse Ranch, St. Chappelle, or Koenig, all boast shelves of award-winning vintages. Will Southwest Idaho become the next wine mecca? Only time will tell.
The truth is that wines out here are getting better all of the time. So these guys are catching up. And no, I don't think it's getting the widespread attention yet that it deserves, but it will.
There are more than 25 different wineries in the Treasure Valley alone, and new ones are popping up all the time. The Idaho Wine Commission has information about all the different wineries and the history of Idaho winemaking. We have a link to that on our website. Live in studio, Jake Melder, Today 6 on your side.
Boise State University officials are trying to institute a change in culture to make BSU a more customer service friendly campus. The Text and Fix program is just one example of their efforts. In place for about a year now, the program recruits faculty and students to help keep the campus clean. Anyone who sees trash overflowing or a facility in need of repair can snap a photo and send its location via text to the maintenance department.
It's really organized, and the buildings aren't all gross, and there's not trash everywhere. Like in the city, there's trash everywhere.
We're in a class when we may have a broken desk that no one's really called in. While they're sitting there, they could take a picture, text it to us, and we can go address it.
You can find the email address to send photos on our website, IdahoOnYourSide.com. Just a reminder, Text and Fix is not to be used in case of emergencies. You may want to avoid a section of downtown Boise this week as crews begin work on the west side of 12th Street, converting streets from one-way to two-way traffic. Motorists should expect delays and lane reductions between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. 5 streets will be converted. Workers on 12th Street will convert lanes from State until Front Street. Boise River Greenbelt users should be aware of an improvement project that also starts Tuesday. An existing pathway near the north end of the Trestle Bridge will be replaced and expanded to make room for a pedestrian lane, meaning a section will be blocked off from Riverside Park to West Fairview Avenue. During construction, the Garden Street access via the Trestle Bridge will be closed.
Currently, we have corners that people can't see around, and there's a potential for injury with people being on the greenbelt and bicyclists coming around at the same time.
The detour will be marked with signs. The project is expected to be completed by early November. A Boise newspaper publisher is headed to the Middle East. Dr. Anthony Harper is publisher and editor of the Intermountain Christian News, representing local churches. Later this week, he'll be leaving Boise to spend about 2 weeks in Jerusalem. He and other reporters plan to meet with Israeli officials to share their concerns about Israel in light of the recent violence in the Gaza conflict.
I am concerned, of course, when we've heard recently about the beheading of a journalist, right? I have no plans to go over to Syria or Gaza, but there are crazy things that happen in Jerusalem as well. So I have some concerns, but it is a unique place to be, and I have faith and hope that I will get through it.
Harper also hopes to interview the President and Prime Minister of Israel. If you'd like to learn more about Dr. Harper's trip or offer support, you can go to the Intermountain Christian News website. That's imcnews.org. Coming up after the break, we'll head back over to the Weather Center and check in with meteorologist Adam Bierman for his complete On Your Side forecast. And still ahead, American airstrikes help break the siege on an Iraqi town by the terror group ISIS, while Germany plans its own next moves against ISIS in Iraq.
Welcome back. It was a beautiful day across the Treasure Valley. Just about perfect at the Boise Airport today. Take a look at our almanac. 74 degrees out there was the high. If you'll recall yesterday, I forecasted 77 for the high. So I was a little bit shy there, maybe a little over optimistic as to just how warm it would get. The low 48. That's the coldest it's been in Boise since June 18th. So we're definitely transitioning into autumn now with cooler temperatures rolling our way. Let's take a look at our highs across the rest of the state. As you can see, the Treasure Valley was quite comfortable. 78 in Ontario today, 75 for Mountain Home. It was a little cooler up in the mountains, but still nice with plenty of sunshine. McCall 64 degrees, Stanley hit 65, Sun Valley up to 68, Chalice up to 71, the same for Pocatello. All in all, a nice day. Cooling down nicely though across the valley. We're sitting in the low to mid 60s, so nice and cool. Downright cold in McCall, 49 degrees this hour, 43 in Stanley. You're well on your way to temperature below freezing by the time you wake up tomorrow. Sun Valley at 54 this hour with Twin Falls checking in at 59. Expanding our view out just a bit, things are looking pretty quiet here across the Pacific Northwest. We do have a couple of showers up north in British Columbia pushing on into Alberta. But all in all, things are pretty quiet across much of the region and expected to stay that way as dry air builds into the region. Take a look now for tomorrow, Labor Day. It's going to be pretty pleasant with highs right around 80 degrees here in the Treasure Valley. Nice day in Idaho Falls up to 70. Spokane, Washington, 71. A little hot off to the south. Reno just shy of 90. As we head into Tuesday, heading back to work, the heat will build. Temperatures warming up into the mid-80s across the Treasure Valley, while Idaho Falls gets up to just about 80. Reno up to 92. So starting to heat things up a little bit here across the Intermountain West. Well, let's take a look now at our setup for tomorrow. High pressure off the coast will bring a nice cool northwesterly flow in across the region. That's going to ensure temperatures stay pretty nice for our holiday. Get outside and enjoy the weather. As we take a look now at our forecast for the Treasure Valley tomorrow, you'll note very pleasant conditions. 80 for Ontario, 80 for Boise, Emmett up to 78, Nampa 77, Meridian gorgeous up to 76, Vail and Weiser both hitting 80. As we head north, we're going to see the Long Valley warming up to about 70 degrees, while lower elevations see anywhere from 82 in Riggins to 74 in Featherville. It's going to be sunny up there as well, very pleasant. Further east, maybe go for a hike up in Stanley where temperatures should hit 71 degrees. Beautiful day to be out at Redfish Lake, but a cold night for camping. Temperatures dipping down to 30. As we head further south, we'll see those temperatures in the Magic Valley warming up into the low to mid 70s. Plenty of sunshine, a little breezy, especially up around Shoshone. That might help make it feel a little bit cooler than it actually is. Here's a look at our next 7 days now. Tomorrow, beautiful, 80, nice. Tuesday, warming up to 85. A cold front will come through Tuesday night, but it'll be so dry, I don't think we'll see any precipitation with it, just wind. 79 our high, and then slowly, ever so slowly, we start to warm things back up into the weekend. Mid-80s for Saturday and Sunday. No 90s this week, but again, I would not, if I was a betting man, I'd say we'd hit 90 again before the year's out.
All right, well, you know what, I'm done with the air conditioner though, because I'm just tired of paying the bill.
Oh yeah, just leave the windows
so now
open.
I'm a man of chance as well, just rolling the dice every night, trying not to wake up sweaty in the morning.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam. American airstrikes have helped break an ISIS siege on the town of Amerli in Iraq. A U.S. official said a massacre of a minority ethnic group there was imminent. Mary Maloney has the story.
We have to protect Americans. That's the #1 issue.
The U.S. is continuing airstrikes in Iraq. Sunday, officials announced the U.S. had hit ISIS targets near the town of Amerli. The town of about 20,000 is home to many of Iraq's Shiite Turkmen, an ethnic minority facing massacre from ISIS.
We got into Iraq because we had humanitarian issues that we had to deal with, and because we have to, in our ways, we have to stop ISIS. It's a very dangerous group of people.
The U.S. also airdropped humanitarian aid to Amerli. Residents have been without power and face severe food and water shortages, according to the UN. Following the strikes, Iraqi security forces entered the town and broke the ISIS siege, according to Iraqi state TV. The U.S. and its allies are concerned about the growing threat of ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Friday, British Prime Minister David Cameron announced the UK would raise its terror threat level to severe. At home, President Barack Obama is facing criticism that the U.S. doesn't have a plan to combat ISIS in Syria.
We've had a year that the president's talked about trying to put together a strategy in Syria. I think it was unfortunate that he used the term, "we have no strategy in Syria."
The administration says that plan is still being developed.
And it would be putting the cart before the horse to talk about what sort of congressional authorization would be required for a plan that hasn't even been put in place yet.
I'm Mary Maloney, reporting.
The United States began airstrikes against ISIS in Iraq earlier this month. So far, the U.S. has not conducted such strikes in Syria. American ally Germany is also contemplating its next moves to combat ISIS. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is expected to make a formal announcement tomorrow on what military aid Germany will send to Iraq to help fight ISIS. She has urged lawmakers to take action because of the growing number of Germans joining insurgents. The German government estimates there are as many as 400 of its people possibly fighting alongside the extremists. Coming up next, American pro wrestlers are captivating an unlikely audience. A look at their trip to North Korea after the break.
You're watching Today 6 on your side at 10.
European leaders are threatening to propose a new round of sanctions against Russia. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko says thousands of foreign troops and tanks are in Ukrainian territory, and the conflict is closing in on full-scale war. The chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee is in Ukraine on a fact-finding mission.
It's at a point where Russia has come, invaded with thousands of troops, with missiles, with tanks. This is no longer the question of some rebel separatists. This is a direct invasion by Russia, and we must recognize that. When I read some of the headlines back at home that suggest that rebels are advancing in different parts of eastern Ukraine, it's not rebels, it's Russian soldiers.
Robert Menendez is urging the West to provide Ukraine with weapons to fight back. Meanwhile, Russia has denied support of rebels in Ukraine, and President Vladimir Putin remains defiant. An Islamist allied militia group in Libya has taken control of the U.S. embassy in the country's capital of Tripoli. This video, posted online, shows militants diving into the facility's pool. American personnel evacuated the country to nearby Tunisia more than a month ago after fighting in the area made conditions unsafe. Violent protests continue today in Pakistan over alleged vote rigging during last year's election. 2 people were killed overnight, bringing the death total to 3, and nearly 500 have been injured. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has refused to step down despite demands from protesters. American pro wrestlers are being treated like rock stars in North Korea, and members of the international media are along for the tour with a tightly controlled agenda. The wrestlers drew large crowds for their performance. Retired Japanese wrestler turned politician Antonio Inoki organized the event. He says sports diplomacy can bring North Korea closer to the outside world. San Francisco 49ers defensive lineman Ray McDonald has been arrested on domestic violence charges. Police in San Jose, California say they were called to McDonald's home early this morning. Several other 49ers players were at the house at the time of McDonald's arrest.
The truth will come out, you know. Hey, I can't say too much about it right now, but I need the truth to come out. I mean, everybody knows what kind of person I am.
McDonald's arrest comes just 3 days after the NFL instituted a new domestic violence policy. A first offense results in a 6-game unpaid ban. A second could result in a lifetime ban. The 49ers general manager released a statement saying the team is aware of the reports but won't comment further at this time. One of Chicago's star Little League players will have a home base to call his own thanks to a generous donor. 12-year-old Jaheim Benton helped the Jackie Robinson West team win the American title at the Little League World Series. But Benton and his family were homeless, staying with family after Benton's mother's work hours were cut. When a local man heard the story, he offered to pay the family's rent for a year.
He's a superstar, little Jaheim, and superstars, the superstar and homeless don't go together. So we had to do something for this little superstar, our superstar, Chicago superstar.
League says he hopes the rent turns into a mortgage and eventually home ownership for the Benton family. Coming up, an update on Idaho's canceled season opener, plus how long is Grant Hedrick's leash as the starting quarterback at Boise State? Coach Harsin extends a vote of confidence next in sports.
Now sports with Sports Director Paul Gerke.
For the first time since 2008, the Boise State football team opened its season unranked in the preseason polls. Thanks to the holiday, the Week 1 version of those polls won't come out until Tuesday, but you can rest assured the Broncos won't make an appearance after getting blown out by Ole Miss. By his own admission, senior quarterback Grant Hedrick deserves at least some of the blame, but how much? Hedrick threw 4 interceptions Thursday night at the Georgia Dome, one shy of his total from all of last season. Yet, Grant completed 36 of his 44 pass attempts, and at least one of Hedrick's picks wasn't his fault. Some fans clamored to see backup Ryan Finley take the field in the second half, but the Broncos stuck with Hedrick and supported him after the dust settled.
You know, he wasn't perfect, but I thought he played well. I thought he settled in there in the second half. He made some throws, checked the ball down, had some good decisions. You know, a couple of those throws might have been ill-advised. A couple of those throws are going for big plays.
I trust Grant. You know, he's a great quarterback, and I know that he's going to go in the film. He's going to learn from this game, and, you know, I don't think we'll see another game like this from Grant. I'm excited for what he's going to do this season.
If Hedrick is going to live up to Ajayi's expectations, he needs to involve more players in the offense. Besides Jay and Grant, only 4 other Broncos touched the ball on offense Thursday night. Shane Williams-Rhodes, Matt Miller, Jake Rowe, and Devin Demas. Jay accounted for 179 yards of offense against Ole Miss, and while he's happy to shoulder the workload, Coach Harsin knows his offense will have to diversify to be effective this season.
Protection first, and if nobody comes, you know, I'm an option late for Grant, and Grant felt comfortable with hitting me on those checkdowns, and after that, it's kind of like running the football in space.
We have to establish somebody else other than Matt, other than Shane, other than Jay, you know, that can go out there and make some plays, and we didn't do that yet. We got to keep working on it.
As for the Broncos defense, it was stout for 3 quarters, but fell apart in the 4th, conceding 3 touchdowns on 4 plays, which turned a close loss into a laugher. Coach Harsin knows that can't happen next weekend against Colorado State.
We gave up big plays, and that changes the game, and the score changes, and it looks completely different than what it really is. And we have to eliminate that, but, you know, at the same time, it's a team game. Both sides have to complement each other, and our defense for 3 quarters is doing everything they can to put us in position to go score, and we need to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yesterday brought bloodshed for pro players with Idaho ties. 7 former Broncos and Vandals were cut by their NFL teams. But today, 3 of those guys are back in business. Former Boise State center Matt Paradis is signed with the Denver Broncos practice squad. Former Idaho linebacker Corey Toomer was added to the Cowboys' 53-man roster. And Vandals D lineman Benson Mayomo was claimed off waivers by the Raiders. The University of Idaho's season opener against Florida was terminated last night due to inclement weather in Gainesville. According to Gators officials today, no rescheduling decisions have been made. The game is not guaranteed to be made up. And the worst part, Florida's not legally obligated to pay Idaho any of the $975,000 the university was supposed to receive. Well, what better way to wrap up a football stack show than with more football? Utah State visiting Tennessee. It was not a pleasant visit. Pig Howard scores the touchdown for the Bulls. This little piggy went to the market. 7-zip Tennessee. Then on the ensuing kickoff, Aggies returner Kennedy Williams coughs it up, and the Volunteers take advantage. Justin Worley to Brendan Downs. He must be from Memphis because he's the only 10 I see. The Volunteers roll 38-7. The Mountain West Conference finishes Week 1 6-6. Here's a live look at Boise from the Ford Dealers Tower Cam. A final check of your forecast with meteorologist Adam Bierman is coming up after a short break. Sand artists are drawing a line in the sand in San Diego this weekend. You see what I did there, Adam? I changed that script to say that. Artists are limited to water and sand to create masterpieces at the U.S. Sculpting Challenge and 3D Art Explosion or Exposition. The winner gets a $60,000 grand prize. The 4-day event continues through tomorrow. That knocks the socks off of every sandcastle I've ever built.
Sand sculptures are cool. That's the bottom line. Labor Day looks pretty nice. 80 degrees and sunny. Looks pretty good for the rest of the week, too.
Those sand sculptures are pretty cool, Adam.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that.
And that's the bottom line. Good night. Thanks for watching.